I'm your host, Charlie McGrath. Warren Edward Pollock is our guest, as always, on Monday, second hour. It is, what have we got, the 18th day of June. We have, we had a very hectic May with all the things going on from Bilderberg to the NATO summit. And, guys, the summer is really, really it's just starting to heat up. We see this European debt crisis culminate for a minute with the Greek vote. However, guess what? It ain't done, because we're still going to go right back into more issues with Spain, with Italy, and so forth and so on. Will we use the ESF or the ESM, or will we use the EFSF? Will we use more IMF money? Will there be some capitulation down in Mexico to let these governments fall so we can have technocrats put in? It is just absolutely heating up. This is just on the political and financial side of things. Looking at what's going on militarily, which, you know what, Warren, I kind of like to talk about that with you for a little bit, just for a few minutes, because over the weekend, right, we had Israel moving tanks to the border of Egypt. Now, let's not forget, Mubarak, he was gone just a year ago. We fomented revolution there. We turned a blind eye when the military took over, and now we have yet another revolution which could turn bloody for the entire region. We have Syria, never-ending drumbeat of war coming out of McCain and Lieberman and the boys in D.C., these tyrannical, what I call dictators because they've been there for so long. We have Russia moving warships to Syria today. And, of course, we have, even though, that region is littered with nuclear weapons, namely, the unmentioned hundreds that Israel's sitting on, the big fear is Iran gaining control of one. At least that's the fear that's being sold to the American people. Warren, politically, financially, all kinds of things going on, but militarily just as tenuous, if not more so.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite incredible. I mean, imagine you live in a place like Pennsylvania, and New York destabilized, New Jersey destabilized, Delaware destabilized, Maryland destabilized, West Virginia destabilized, Ohio destabilized, and across this little pool of water, Michigan destabilized. So that's, where Israel is right now. They used to have a treaty with Egypt. They had sort of a détente with Syria that was, occupying or stabilizing Lebanon from time to time. They have Palestinian refugees that nobody seems to hear about. Everyone hears about the Israeli-Palestinian refugees, but they don't hear about the refugees in Jordan. They don't hear about the refugees in Lebanon or in
Turkey.
Syria or Turkey. Well, that's a different refugee. Those are the
I'm just saying,
Iraqi refugees.
Destabilization leads to masses of people looking to flee violence, flee starvation. I mean, the region is topsy-turvy, probably more so than, in any point in the last, going back to World War I, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally topsy-turvy, and it's the same areas of contention, plus or minus. And I have an old presentation which I gave out to the people that helped me in a fundraiser that I'm thinking about updating. That's a hell of a lot of work to do that, but it uses the Dymaxion map, which is a fuller projection. And if you could type in Wikipedia the word fuller projection map, you can see what one looks like. And wherever, this map really allows you to see where all the contention is. And that's the map you should use. We're used to using a Mercator map, which is as old as some of the economic theory around there.
Most of them are
around dead. Us. Most of them are dead. So the map is dead that we're using too. And it was so interesting. I'm reading Fuller today, and he said that there's no such thing as a straight line. And only a guy like that would figure that out. But, space may be curved, and these trajectories go around in circles. They start where they finish, maybe. And we'll find out that this trajectory that we're on is going to finish exactly where it started, which is all hell breaking loose in a lot of places. And that Fuller map sure does help you figure out where those places are. And it's the same kind of culture that leads to these types of things. And put it this way, let's say you're doing something bad for your own body. You're eating 5,000 calories a day, and you're doing that bad for a short period of time. I mean, you could reverse that rather quickly. But if you're eating 5,000 calories a day for 40 years,
right,
that's not so easy to undo. And beyond that, besides them having to cut you out of your house and take you to the hospital, you probably have 20 and 30 and 40 things wrong with you that they can't correct. So that's the condition that we're in. We're on this very long trajectory, and everyone is solutionless. Everyone is solutionless because the culture is solutionless. And we could say,
Warren, you and I sometimes have debates on is it a vast conspiracy? And I think I tend to lean more towards definitely. I don't know how vast, but I definitely believe it's there is non-stated goals that are trying to be achieved, and then there's stated goals that are trying to be used as a placation tool to the world. But it's hard to imagine being any more, layman's term, any more screwed up than on every front, on every single front, not just militarily, but financially and society in general. We're all focusing on the wrong thing. I mean, we're all paying attention to things that are not important, and the things that are important we're letting go by the wayside. And I can't help but think that isn't human nature. That is human engineering.
Well, I don't know. The people that I know that I've spoken to, and that I've interacted with, I got this note from a guy in the system on Twitter, Neil Borofsky, that was on TALP or TARP or something like that.
Yeah.
And he said in a tweet, that wasn't Bethany the most stupid thing that he'd ever seen in our culture or on TV or anywhere. Bethany is some stupid TV show. And I tweeted him back, and I wound up deleting the tweet or whatever the hell it was, because I knew it was going to tweet, because it was basically a twit, what I sent him. And it said to him, if you think that is stupid, how about the fact that we have all this fraud in the system and no one wants to address it? So here's a guy that is supposedly your former lambasting Tim Geithner, involved in the troubled asset relief program, saying, what a freaking mess this is. Look at Bethany on TV. And isn't that stupid? But isn't the stupidity the fact that we can't address any of these things?
Well, to my credit, I have no idea who Bethany is, so I'm going to move on from that. But it sounds pop culture-esque.
Well, it is pop culture-esque. And, this guy is wrapped up with money every day. But the people that I know that are managing this thing, the people that I know that are trading or used to trade, the people that run big firms, I mean, they're all running scared. Half of them are trying to do what we're doing because they're scared. And you can see, I like Charles Biederman. You can see him doing that, to get a little bit of a newsletter business started. But this newsletter stuff in terms of finance, what stock to buy is running a bit thin, don't you think?
I do.
I mean, it's not going to work anymore. And you can look at this thing. It's the same thing over and over and over again. So we have to really just sort of take a step back and figure out, what's going on. And that takes us detaching from it and detaching from a lot of the repetitive sources, the dramatic sources, the Bethany sources. And that's what it will take. I mean, how many people are still subscribed to TV? How many people are watching Fox News? And we can explain very clearly, what the provenance is of these things. But what does it matter? I mean, I can tell you, I have friends in Fox News, which I do, and the guy that was the mole that was working for Gawker, that got $10,000 to tell you all the dirt on Fox News, signed a non-compete agreement, and they're going to sue him into oblivion.
Right.
I could tell you about all the lies there. But now, if you believe in Fox News, you believe in Fox News, you believe in Fox News, and you believe in Fox News. And you cannot be rational with that. It shuts down thinking. So the more people that can think, the better.
Or do you think you have a different perspective because of where you live?
Well, yeah,
from where I live.
I'm influenced from where I lived. I mean, the best perspective I got, was working internationally in 11 countries, and then living in Canada and operating a business in Canada for 5 years as an expatriate in a country in Quebec or Montreal where all the courts were in French, all the business documents were in French, all the disputes were in French, all of the rules were in French, all the rules were slated to the agenda of a different culture,
Right.
which may have been what people consider here socialistic. However, it wound up, in my estimation, a culture that encouraged people to go to school and actually learn something for $4,000 instead of $40,000. A country which realized that not everyone needed to go to college, so they would provide you with an education so you could be in a trade and expanded the trades to areas like hoteling, to restaurants, to every conceivable thing that would give you a benefit in your society. And here we have sort of this mindless society. Is it more capitalistic? Well, how many capitalists do you know in reality that aren't involved in finance or aren't milking the tit of some large corporation?
Well, to be honest with you right now, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the capitalism doesn't exist. You know, we have a command economy, and we have this legal-based capitalism, financial-based capitalism that dominates. And if you're not, if you're not Warren Buffett or you're not in the loop, then you're never going. I mean, sure, there's going to be startups, there's going to be small business, but I'm talking country directional industry. Is not going to occur unless it's with the blessing of, a very few corporations. And everything you just described right there, your history makes up what you know now. What I meant by, do you think your geographical location? Let me clear it up. Your geographical location forms this bias opinion, as mine does from where I'm at, out here in the West. See, because I listen to you talk, and I listen to you talk all the time. You and I talk off the air quite often, almost every day, and you see things in a perspective that I don't. I don't see it. I mean, we talk about the dumbing down of culture. I believe that. I believe that's what you see, in the melee of the Eastern Seaboard. What I see out here is the awakening of people saying, you know what, I'm not buying into the Fox News anymore. I'm not buying into the mainstream media anymore. And I see more and more people becoming more and more independent.
What's the population of Montana? What's the population of Montana?
Well, I'm not just talking Montana, but we're 1 million. It's nothing compared to it's probably half your county. Million.
I mean, you're not even the size of my town. I mean, the whole state.
Right.
I mean, let me get the statistics.
Yeah, I can give them to you. I mean, you have probably 500,000 people more in the county you live in.
No, in our little town, we have 759,757 people. In the county I am in, we have. Let me get this thing. We have one leader that's insane, and 1.339 million people. That's just like you can throw a stone and you're out of the county. And the county next to that has 2 million.
What does that have to do with it, though? I mean, what is a more condensed population is easier to get to drink the Kool-Aid?
Yeah, I mean, 1/3 of 1% isn't going to be drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right.
And, the fresh air where you are and the fact that you're not on top of other people and the people, have better chance of breaking out of the mindset. Montana is known for that. A place that's liberal, Vermont, is known for that. New Hampshire is known for that. I mean, Vermont used to be its own country at one point, I think.
It did.
And it's one of the few states that was its own country. I think Texas was, too. So you have people, that think in a different perspective. A lot of them cast a lot of this stuff out. I mean, I'm in an area that depends very much on brokerage. I mean, 30 or 40% of the people are earning lots of money so they can pay lots of taxes to go to schools, which cost lots of money to go work for, the man. And I see a lot of that culture. It's a detached culture. It's not one I like particularly. I mean, I like the beach. That's why I like it here.
Well, and before
Florida, but they're not any smarter in Florida. They're just a different color of the Kool-Aid. I mean, they're all.
This is my point. This is my point. We have a call online, but before I go to Steve, I do want to make my point that I was trying to make by asking you that is sometimes from perspective, from where we look at things. People I talk to are generally in the West, although I deal with people in the East, I deal with people in Canada, I deal with people in China. But perspective, I think, has a lot to do with attitude right? And you're seeing a huge population mass that is completely dumbed down. They're talking about, Jersey Shore and whatever other thing you brought up a minute ago. I'm seeing out here in the West, especially Montana, Colorado, Utah, even Oregon, Washington, even Northern California, people really starting to realize that, we are on a collision course with destiny. And when we have this collision, it's going to be, Katie bar the door, because it's going to be brutal. And you have a whole other populace that lives mainly in the heavily populated portions of California, the eastern seaboard, that are oblivious. They're oblivious. They think, this is just go on forever. You have the Beltway that is doing better than they've ever done. Wages are up, more $100,000 jobs than ever. And, so there's going to be a clash of culture at some point very soon. But I think having you on the program and me on the program and talking about the differences, the different perspectives from different regions of this country shows that it isn't all the same. It isn't everybody just, knuckling down and believing everything that Fox.
Yeah, but here's the thing, okay? I worked in 11 countries and owned a business in a foreign country.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you had the ultimate international experience. You got yourself into the army, and they shipped you out to war, and you got to see what destroying a country is about.
Right.
And and that's great experience, because you see the breakdown, action, and crisis, and you caused the damn thing. and that's great experience. And that's why we have to have empathy to other people. And that's one of the things that scares the shit out of me, because when I look at my fellow Americans, a lot of them are living in feudalism. Right. Even here in New York, you would think it's a cultured place. None of these jackasses have been out of the country. And that's the problem. You're working for $1 million corporation on Wall Street. Have you ever been out of the country? No, I don't want to go.
Right.
So I mean, that's the American culture. It's McDonaldized. And the more...
Not everywhere. I agree.
Everywhere.
That is, I agree. There is again, it goes back to, is this an agenda? I believe there is more than subtle attempt to sway the populace into participating.
Total ways to sway it. But
it's
like everything else. It's a cat dog.
Let me get Steve out here, because I just looked at the clock. We only have about 2 minutes left. Steve, I apologize. This hour just flew by. Steve from Oregon, thank you very much for holding out. What's on your mind?
I will be 2 seconds, man. I'm in the chat room, and I just want to let you know that these people are so fun and so smart. We laugh, we share ideas, and you have brought people together, and that really can share ideas. We can laugh and all that kind of stuff, and you've done more than you might think. And that's all I had to say. Okay?
That's very kind of you. I appreciate that, and from day one with the program and the YouTube channel, that is been the goal: mentally prepare people for who knows what's coming next. Warren?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's the motivation. The motivation that Charlie and I have has to just try to assuage or reduce the impact of what's coming. And it could be that we're Cassandra. It could be that a lot of people are awake, but the people that I see in the elite circles, they're either dumbed down and they don't understand what's going on, and they just have fancy suits on, and I think you could understand that. Or the ones that are really brilliant know what the hell is going on, and they're looking at this thing like a freight train that's coming at them. And then you got Eduardo.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. And then you got Eduardo Saverin, it typifies this. And, he's like, I'm out of here. See you later. And I'll take my money with me. And then you got guys like Chuck Schumer, who's the senator here in New York. The other one is a political crony, Gildebrandt, who was given the office by a blind governor who fell into office because of some manipulation of a sex scandal of
because he wanted to expose a too big to fail institution.
He wanted to expose a too fail, so we got a blind governor that appoints a crony that everyone still elects.
Okay, I got the solution. We're going to wrap it up before the end of the program. We need to expatriate the Northeast, in anything north of the state of New York. Sorry, you guys can stay in the Union, but how about New York on down to maybe Virginia? We're going to go ahead and call that the land.
Why not just give Mexico back? Because that's what just happened with the executive order. I mean, you follow that trajectory out, that's what happens. Look at an old map of the United States and see where Mexico is. And when you have, you were a legal immigrant, now you're illegal. And, oh, by the way, there's thousands of people who will vote for me now, but none of them will be able to vote, but all the constituents of those people will. And then you have this other thing is let me steal Ron Paul voters and use those. So it's a total manipulation on everyone's part.
Well, I agree. Manipulation is the key. And again, even going down that path, we can talk about the executive orders to generate votes in this upcoming election. But what we really need to talk about is what's truly being done in our name and what is coming next, especially on the financial front. Warren Edward Pollock, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on here. Steve, thanks for the call. Guys, thanks for hanging out in the chat room. Enjoy Jeff Rentz. He's coming up next. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Eric Lovely, hour number 1. Then John Rubino, great guy, great thinker, has theeconomiccollapseblog.com. He is, the dollarcollapseblog.com. He is the guest for tomorrow night, second hour. So enjoy Jeff Rentz. He's coming up next. Have a good night. Peace.
Okay, got the